Hi, I'm Shalita Jefferson, and this presentation will be about how the Bible came to be. During this presentation, I will scratch the surface on exploring the origins of Scripture and the reality of Jesus Christ. Have you ever wondered where the Bible came from? Who wrote it and how it came to be? Is there evidence to support that Jesus Christ is real? Or were you like me as a child, a person who just figured that the Bible was always here, and that maybe one day God, in all his infinite wisdom and mystical power, snapped his fingers or waved his hand, or better yet, just spoke and said, "Let the word come forth," and there the Bible was. As I matured in my Christian walk and in life in general, I was elated to find that I was wrong. Not only was I wrong about God snapping his fingers or speaking a word, but the origins of the Bible are traceable, and there is, in fact, historical evidence to support its creation and that Jesus Christ actually lived. So let's dive in. It's common knowledge that the Bible consists of 66 books, 39 in the Old Testament and 27 in the New Testament. While the Old Testament was written over the course of 1,000 years, the New Testament was written during a time span of only 30 to 40 years and was written by first generation Jesus followers. It was all written in the first century, roughly 20 to 60 years after Jesus' resurrection. This means that the people who wrote the New Testament were either Jesus' disciples, followers of his disciples, or people who were actually alive during his lifetime. I don't know about you, but the knowledge of this helped to bring the New Testament alive for me, with the understanding that the people who wrote it were mostly writing first-hand accounts of the stories they told. Let's break this down a bit. Historians have actual evidence to support that the authors of the New Testament are Matthew, who was one of the 12 original apostles, known for writing the Gospel of Matthew. Then there was Mark, who was closely connected to the apostles and the early church. He is credited with writing the Gospel of Mark. Luke, a close associate of the Apostle Paul, known for writing the Gospel of Luke and the Acts of the Apostles. And John, one of the 12 original apostles. He was the author of the Gospel of John, as well as the epistles of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, and the book of Revelation. Another prominent author was Paul. This is the same Apostle Paul who was also known as Saul of Tarsus in Acts 9. You may remember that Saul was initially a persecutor of early Christians before having a divine experience on the road to Damascus. He later became a key figure in the early Christian church and a major contributor to the New Testament. Paul wrote letters to various Christian communities and individuals, offering guidance, encouragement, and theological insights. These letters are now part of the New Testament. His letters, known as the Pauline epistles, include Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, and Philemon. Next is James, who was possibly the brother of Jesus. He was the author of the letter of James. The book of James teaches us that faith works and emphasizes the importance of faith in action. Next was Peter. The Apostle Peter, also known as Simon Peter, is traditionally believed to have written the two epistles included in the New Testament, 1st and 2nd Peter. He was also one of the 12 apostles of Jesus and played a significant role in the early Christian church. Now, while the New Testament attributes authorship of these letters to Peter, many Bible scholars have questioned the authenticity of both, particularly 2nd Peter. There are several reasons why this view is held, but we won't dive into that because, as I said, we're just scratching the surface in this presentation. So next is the book of Jude, which urges believers to contend earnestly for the faith and warns against the infiltration of false teachers and ungodly behaviors within the church. It was written by another of Jesus' brothers, Jude. Now, in Hebrews, the author of the letter of Hebrews is unknown. though the style and content of the letter suggested it was written by someone familiar with familiar with Jewish tradition and the teachings of Paul. All of these first generation accounts support that the New Testament of the Bible did not just appear out of thin air. In fact, there is historical evidence suggesting that Jesus was a real historical figure. Most modern historians, including non-Christian scholars, agree that Jesus was a historical figure who lived in first generation Judea. He was a Jewish teacher or prophet, and he was crucified under the Roman governor Pontius Pilate. With that, I would like to end this presentation with the theme of Revelation, which is meant to comfort and encourage Christians. It reveals future realities and events through a heavenly perspective. God reigns, saves, and satisfies his people through his covenant. And I'd also like to add that God cared for us so much that he used his disciples to create the greatest book in the world to help give us testimonies, wisdom, and guidance until we return to him. Thank you so much for listening, and I pray that you were blessed.